Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to be doing answers for the balancing worksheet number 1. So we have our first problem. Fe plus Br yields iron bromide. I'm going to draw my line. Then I'm going to list my elements. For my reactants, I have iron and bromine. For my products, I have the same. And I'm going to list them in the same order. For iron, there's one of them. For bromine, you see this little subscript. That's 2. On the other side, we have 1 iron because there's no subscript after it. And then for bromine, we have 3 because there's a tiny 3 after it. Iron is already balanced, so we're going to balance bromine. The lowest common multiple, or the smallest thing that both of them go into, is 6. So I want to make this 6. What times 2 is 6? The answer is 3. So I'm going to put a coefficient of 3 there. Going to give me 6 bromines. On the other side, I'm going to do the same thing. So I need 6 bromines. What times 3 is 6? So that's a 2. So I rated 2 as a coefficient. That does change my bromine, but it also changes my iron to 2. Now my irons do not balance. So I'm going to go back to my reactant side. And I need to multiply 1 by what in order to get 2? You need to multiply by 2. So I put 2 as a coefficient and then change it underneath. For number 2, and then we are all balanced. So we have 2, 6, 2, 6. We're good. For number 2, we are going to do the same thing. Draw our line where the arrow is, separating the reactants from the products, and go ahead and list out each element. So I have chlorine, sodium, and bromine. I'm going to list them in the same order, and I'm going to count them. On the reactant side, I have 2 chlorines, 1 sodium, and 1 bromine. On the product side, I have 1 chlorine, 1 sodium, and 2 bromines. So you can start really wherever you want here. We have chlorine first listed, so I'm just going to make those equal. So that's 2, this is 1. I'm going to multiply by 2 to get 2 chlorines. It also changes my sodiums. Now over on my reactant side, my sodium and bromine do not balance. So I'm going to add a 2 as a coefficient in front of them in order to make them both 2. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Everything balances. Number 3, separate the reactants from the products. List out all of the atoms. I have potassium, nitrogen, magnesium, and sulfur. Okay. I'm going to list them in the same order on the product side. 3 potassiums, 1 nitrogen, 1 magnesium, 1 sulfur. On the right side, I have 2 potassiums, 1 sulfur, 3 magnesiums, and 2 nitrogens. I'm going to start balancing really wherever I would like. We can start with potassium. I have 3 here and 2 here. So the lowest common multiple, or smallest thing that they can both go into, 6. So I'm going to make this 6 by multiplying by 3. That does change my potassium to 6, but it also changes my sulfur to 3. Over here, in order to get potassium to 6, I need to multiply by 2. That changes my potassium to 6. It also changes my nitrogen to 2. So right now, our potassium balances and our nitrogen balances. Next, we're going to try to do magnesium and sulfur. We have 3 magnesium and only 1 on our reactant side. So I am going to put a coefficient of 3. So that changes my magnesium to 3 and my sulfur to 3. So everything matches now. 6233, 6233. For number 4, we're going to do much the same. Draw a line where my arrow is. Write out my elements. I have 1 carbon, 2 sulfurs, and 2 oxygens. On my product side, I have 1 carbon, 1 sulfur, and for my oxygens, I need to add these together. So this is 2, and this is 2. So I have a total of 4. Okay? Our carbons match, our sulfurs match, our oxygens do not. In instances like this where oxygen does not balance, do not start balancing with oxygen. You want to start with something else. Hydrogen and oxygen always get balanced last, if possible. So we're going to change our sulfur. This is 2. I need this to be 2. So I'm going to put a 2 as a coefficient. That changes not only that number of sulfurs to 2, it also changes my number of oxygens. My new oxygen number, I still have these 2, but I also have these 4. So 2 plus 4, 6. Now the only thing that doesn't balance is our O. I need this to equal 6. 6 divided by 2. I need a coefficient of 3 there to change it to 6. Number 5, I have iron and oxygen. Iron is 1, oxygen is 2. On my product side, iron is 2, oxygen is 3. If I do iron first, I put the 2 as a coefficient, and that changes it to 2. Now that my iron's balanced, I need to balance my oxygens. Again, the least common multiple, or lowest thing that both 2 and 3 can go into, is 6. So I'm going to multiply this side by 2. That does change my oxygen to 6 on the product side, but it also changed my iron to 4. So I need to get my oxygen to 6 on my reactant side. I'm going to multiply by a coefficient of 3. That fixes my oxygen, but now I need to readjust my iron. So that's 4. Instead of this 2 here, I need a 4 as a coefficient. That will change that iron to 4. Everything balances. 4, 6, 4, 6. Moving down, number 6. I'm going to draw my line. I have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. On my product side, I have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Let's start with carbon. There are 3 carbons to the left, 1 on the right. So I'm going to multiply by 3. as a coefficient. That is going to change my carbon. It's also going to change my oxygen. Remember, I need to multiply here and then add on this one. So this is 6 and 1. So right now I have 7 oxygens. Next, I'm going to balance my hydrogen. 8 on the reactant side and only 2 on the product side. So I need to multiply by 4. That does change my hydrogen to 8. It also changes my number of oxygen. So I still have these 6 over here for CO2, but now I've changed this to 4. 6 plus 4, I have 10 oxygens. So I need on my reactant side to get 10 oxygens over here. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so I need a coefficient of 5. 3, 8, 10, 3, 8, 10. For number 7, I have the same 3 elements as before, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. I'm going to go ahead and count those. Again, I'm going to start with carbon. So I have 3 carbons on my reactant side. I need 3 on my product side. So I'm going to multiply by 3 here. That is going to change my oxygen. Okay. This is going to be 6 for the CO2. Right now we have 1 for this H2O. So we have 7 oxygens right now. Next, I'm going to balance my H's. I have 6 over here. So I need to write a 3 as a coefficient. That does change my hydrogen to 6, but it also changes my oxygen. 6 and 3 is now 9. When I go over here, there is nothing that I can put in front of this O2 to make it equal 9. Not a whole number anyway. And we only deal with whole numbers when balancing. So what I need to do is double any number that I already put up there. So I'm going to make this a 6, make this a 6. That doubles everything down here. Then I need to balance my reactants. In order to get a 6 for carbon and a 12 for hydrogen, I'm going to put a coefficient of 2 there. And then in order to get 18 oxygens, I'm going to put a 9 in front of the O2. Our next example has magnesium, hydrogen, and chlorine. Okay. Chlorine and hydrogen do not balance. They're the only things that do not balance. In order to get them balanced, I need a coefficient of 2 in front of the HCl, and they're fixed. For numbers 9 and 10, for number 9, we're going to draw our line separating the reactants from the products. We only have 2 reactants, hydrogen and oxygen. And there are 2 of each. On the other side, there are 2 hydrogens and 3 oxygens, because remember we have 1 here and 2 here, and we have to add them together. So the only thing that does not balance is oxygen right now. And we know that oxygen has to be even. So the lowest way, the easiest way to get oxygen even is to put a 2 in front of this H2O. That would make this a 2 for oxygen, and we'd have 4 oxygens. It does also change this hydrogen to a 4. 4 and 4. So how do I get both hydrogen and oxygen to be a 4? I put a coefficient of a 2, and that makes both of them 4s. For our final problem, we have K, Br, and O. Okay. So the lowest common multiple between 3 and 2 is 6. So I'm going to multiply by 3 over here and 2 over here. This 2 changes my potassium, my bromine, and my oxygen. So now I need my potassium and bromine to equal 2. So I put a coefficient of 2 in front of the potassium bromide, and everything balances out. As always, if you guys have questions about this homework, please do not hesitate to ask. I am always available to do a meet on Hangouts or via email. Have a great day.